In the land of the free, breaking the law can be as easy as feeding a pigeon or planting the wrong flower. These aren't criminal masterminds. We're talking grandmas, dog walkers, and yoga lovers who stumbled into legal trouble without a clue. Some got fines, others got headlines. All of them prove that in the US, even innocence can be illegal. 1. A retired teacher in Oregon set out tiny saucers of homemade honey on her porch so neighborhood kids could taste summer. Turns out, state law treats any unlicensed honey distribution as a commercial sale, and inspectors hit her with a citation, usually reserved for black market beekeepers. Try putting that on your resume under community service. 2. One 4th of July, a Kansas dad proudly mowed a massive flag design into a vacant lot beside his house. He didn't realize the land belonged to the city's water department, and altering public utilities property is a misdemeanor. He basically committed eco-graffiti with a John Deere. 3. In Vermont, a yoga studio's Zen-seeking patrons were fined when an officer spotted them meditating on a covered bridge's wooden railing. The bridge is legally classified as a vehicular thoroughfare, and loitering on it longer than 10 minutes violates traffic code. Namaste? More like, now you stay in the car? 4. A Michigan grandma knitted colorful cozies for downtown parking meters to spread cheer. City Council loved the vibe, until finance realized the sleeves jammed coin sensors, technically interfering with revenue collection. She ended up in the same legal bucket as someone beating meters with a crowbar. 5. Picture a New Orleans tourist blissfully tossing beads to his buddy from a balcony. Classic Mardi Gras, right? Unfortunately, the beads landed on a police horse. Under an obscure livestock interference law, he assaulted a working animal and spent the night in a cell decorated with exactly zero jazz. 6. A Colorado teenager organized a sunset drum circle in a state park, inviting followers with the promise of free herbal tea. Park rangers swooped in because advertising free beverages without a vendor permit qualifies as unlicensed concession. The tea was chamomile, but the fine hit as hard as a double espresso. 7. Deep in suburban Texas, a homeowner replaced his boring lawn with native wildflowers. Neighborhood kids loved the butterflies, HOA didn't. Their bylaws classify anything over 8 inches as weeds, so he racked up daily penalties for creating what officials called an unauthorized prairie ecosystem. Yeehaw, outlaw botanist. 8. On Long Island, a bride released 50 white doves for that Instagram moment. One unfortunate clause: non-licensed wildlife releases within 1,500 feet of an airport breach FAA regs. Moments later, her something blue was the flashing lights of Port Authority cops lecturing her about avian radar clutter. 9. A Florida fisherman proudly Snapchatted himself catching a Goliath grouper, then letting it go. Turns out even a brief lift for a selfie violates federal protection rules. The grouper swam away fine, but the guy's bank account didn't. Why $500 for a fish that never even hit the grill? 10. Remember blockbuster late fees? A North Carolina man ignored a 2002 rental of Freddy Got Fingered. 18 years later, he was pulled over for a broken taillight and discovered an active warrant for failure to return rental property. Talk about a horror sequel nobody asked for. 11. In Chicago, an amateur magician practiced coin behind the ear tricks on the L train, accepting no money. Transit police cited him for performing without a license, a rule designed for buskers. The only thing he made vanish? $250 and his dignity. 12. A Seattle tech worker installed a solar charger on his apartment balcony railing. The building's historic district ordinance bans modern visual elements, visible from the street, classifying the sleek panel as architectural vandalism. Saving the planet. Noble. Violating 1970s aesthetics. Apparently criminal. 13. An Arizona retiree baked loaves in her backyard wood-fired oven and left them on a table labeled, "Take one, leave a smile." County health code still counts it as a food service establishment, so inspectors shut her down for lacking a 3-sink wash station. The bread, confiscated as evidence. 14. During a Nebraska blizzard, a group of teens shoveled elderly neighbors' driveways for free. Police thanked them, then cited them for soliciting without a permit because they'd left flyers offering the service. Lesson learned. No good deed goes unpermitted. 15. A Maine lobster boat flew a pirate flag for laughs during a tourist cruise. Coast Guard boarded, citing them for displaying a false distress signal since black flags historically indicated mutiny. Apparently, irony doesn't float in federal maritime code. 16. In Atlanta, a man walking his pet boa constrictor let curious strangers hold it for selfies. City code treats that as an impromptu, exotic animal exhibit, requiring barriers and a $400 daily permit. He slithered right into municipal infamy. 17. A Utah mom mailed homemade cookies to troops overseas. She declared them as gifts on the customs form, but peanut butter counts as restricted agricultural product. Customs seized the care package and issued her a formal warning normally reserved for smuggling contraband cattle feed. 18. One Indiana town's ordinance bans playing cards on Sunday for stakes. College students thought pennies didn't count until an officer cited them for gambling after spotting a 52-card pile. They went all in for a jackpot of $1.04. Vegas, eat your heart out. 19. Ever sing Happy Birthday at a restaurant? Before the song entered public domain in 2016, a Minnesota cafe owner led a rousing tableside chorus and posted it on YouTube. Warner Chappelle's lawyers demanded licensing fees under copyright law, turning a cupcake celebration into a legal muffin top. 20. A California cyclist cruised through a vineyard road while live streaming to friends. Viewers asked for a closer look, so he momentarily veered onto a grape row, technically commercial filming on agricultural land, without a permit because the stream had ads. Yes, a hobby vlog can morph into felony filmmaking. 21. In Oklahoma, a Boy Scout troop roasted marshmallows over a small pit at a city lake campground. They didn't notice a posted sign banning open flame longer than 2 minutes due to drought. Rangers timed them at 2:05 and issued citations. Talk about burning through badges. 22. A DC lobbyist set up a kiddie pool on his townhouse roof deck to beat the humidity. Fire code defines any rooftop vessel over 24 inches deep as a structure requiring inspection. Inspectors arrived, drained the pool, and fined him enough to book a week in Cancun, ironically safer. 23. A Pennsylvania man bought surplus military night vision goggles on eBay and tested them in his backyard. Federal law prohibits exporting that tech, but his fence backed up to a county airport and planes counted as foreign-bound carriers. Congrats! He technically exported by letting Delta passengers glimpse green blobs. 24. One autumn in New Hampshire, a craft brewery used fallen maple leaves as decoration inside the taproom. State agricultural rules say untreated natural materials in food areas invite pests, classifying the leaves as unapproved garnish. Health inspectors swept in like, well, leaf blowers. 25. A Vegas tourist absent-mindedly fed pigeons leftover fries on the Strip. City ordinance treats pigeon feeding as a public health violation. Fine, $1,000. Considering the fries cost $4.99, that's a markup even the casinos would envy. 26. A Wisconsin ice fisherman set his Bluetooth speaker on the frozen lake, blasting classic rock. DNR officers cited him for acoustic harassment of wildlife, the same clause used to bust jet skiers chasing loons. He just wanted Freebird, not free court dates. 27. In Savannah, a couple staged a surprise proposal under a historic live oak and hung battery fairy lights. Municipal arborists arrived mid-yes because attaching anything to protected trees violates the city's treasured canopy law. Love may be eternal, but so is that citation. 28. A Denver apartment dweller planted cannabis seeds in her windowsill planter, assuming recreational legality covered personal gardening. State rules require plants be out of public view, and her third-floor bay window faced Main Street. Police spotted the greenery from a parade float. Talk about high visibility. 29. A Rhode Island dad fixed his kids' bikes and set the old chains ablaze in a metal drum to remove grease, copying a YouTube hack. Open-air burning of metal emits visible particulates, classed as hazardous waste processing. EPA showed up faster than you can say, life hack gone toxic. 30. Finally, ever let your dog stick its head out the car window? In Connecticut, a newly updated animal safety law forbids transporting pets in a manner exposing them to projectiles. An officer clocked a golden retriever's ears flapping in the breeze and wrote a ticket. Good boy, bad owner? 31. A thrifty North Dakotan rigged 5 blue barrels to his downspouts, dreaming of free tomato watering all summer. He forgot the state follows century-old prior appropriation rules. Every drop of precipitation is technically spoken for. When a water rights inspector spotted his DIY aqueduct, the man learned collecting rain can be treated like siphoning from the municipal reservoir. Who knew clouds had lawyers? 32. A New Jersey high schooler whipped up neon unicorn slime in her parents' kitchen and sold jars at a church craft fair. She even printed cute labels, just not the federally required chemical warnings for borax. The Consumer Product Safety Commission swooped in, classifying her glittery goo as an unregistered toy compound. Bake sale vibes, hazmat consequences, and one very confused youth pastor. 33. To spice up the neighborhood Easter hunt, a California mom programmed her drone to shower plastic eggs across the cul-de-sac. The kids loved it. The FAA did not. Any airborne package delivery requires Part 135 certification, even if the cargo is jelly beans. One pastel-colored flight plan later, she'd chalked up a violation usually reserved for rogue Amazon prototypes. 34. An Alabama couple road-tripped with a cooler of homemade moonshine-marinated ribs, planning a cookout at Grandma's. They crossed a dry county line, and deputies flagged the distinct scent at a gas station stop. Transporting spirituous beverages through prohibition jurisdictions is still a misdemeanor, even if the booze is soaking pork. Grandma got ribs, they got court dates. 35. Wandering Boston's Freedom Trail, a visiting history professor pocketed a loose cobblestone for his lecture props. Turns out, the stones are individually cataloged as historic artifacts. A park ranger cited him under the same statute that nails black market antiquities smugglers. Nothing says academic tenure like explaining you boosted a rock from Paul Revere's neighborhood. 36. In rural Missouri, a seed swap meetup looked wholesome, until a gardener handed out unlabeled heirloom tomato seedlings. State agriculture officials busted the event for distributing unregistered propagative material. Translation: every plant needs paperwork. The man just wanted neighbors tasting brandy wines. Instead, he tasted regulatory fertilizer spread thick. 37. A bored Vegas tourist live-streamed himself teaching card-counting tips from a Starbucks, complete with sample hands on the table. Nevada law forbids giving gambling instruction for gain without a license, and his stream ran pre-roll ads. Metro Police treated the latte-sipping strategist like a bootleg blackjack academy. House edge? Meet cafe citation. 38. A rustic barn wedding in Alabama ended with guests waving indoor sparklers for that Pinterest glow. Local fire code bans any pyrotechnics in wooden structures over 100 years old. The newlyweds' happily ever after photo now features a fire marshal in full gear, clipboard shining brighter than the bride's tiara. 39. One sunny Ohio afternoon, an art school grad chalked a sprawling koi pond mural across downtown sidewalks, assuming rain would rinse it away. City ordinance labels any unapproved pavement design as graffiti, washable or not. Street sweepers power blasted his masterpiece, and he earned a ticket that outlasted the chalk dust by weeks. 40. A Tennessee backpacker plucked a bouquet of delicate wildflowers for Instagram aesthetics inside Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Unfortunately, those petals belong to an endangered species list longer than the Appalachian Trail. Rangers intercepted her photo shoot, and she discovered that Dakar flower power can morph into Dakar's federal charges faster than you can say, like and subscribe. 41. During Minnesota's Deep Freeze Festival, an ice sculptor carved a 6-foot throne on a frozen lake and invited revelers to sit. DNR officers declared the frosty furniture an unauthorized structure, requiring a building permit, even if it melts by March. He built a chair, Bureaucracy built a blizzard of paperwork. 42. Seattle hosts a famous nude cycling parade, but one night owl joined a post-event ride minus both clothes and the legally mandated rear reflector. Police pulled over the glowing flesh comet for insufficient visibility equipment. Evidently, 200 square inches of human epidermis isn't reflective enough for Washington traffic law. 43. In coastal South Carolina, teens modified a golf cart with a surfboard rack, then filmed themselves wave riding it down neighborhood streets. State code classifies any structural change as re-registration worthy. The board never hit the water, yet DMV fines flooded in like a rogue tide. 44. An Idaho rancher deployed a drone to count cattle, saving hours of horseback patrol. The gadget briefly crossed a neighbor's fence line, triggering the state's strict privacy statute. Suddenly, a ranch management shortcut equated to surveillance, and he found himself lassoed by civil court instead of rope. 45. Seeking a fun science lesson, a Maryland teacher released 3,000 mail-order ladybugs in her classroom. The shipment originated outside the Mid-Atlantic region, violating invasive species transport rules. Agriculture inspectors arrived before the bell rang, netting insects like miniature fugitives and citing the educator for an ecological jailbreak. 46. An Illinois retiree bounced amateur radio signals off the moon, a hobby called EME, Earth Moon Earth. He accidentally used a military satellite band, and within hours, the FCC sent a politely terrifying letter. Congratulations, his backyard antenna achieved interstellar reach and immediate federal attention. 47. A trendy Atlanta bar hosted a silent disco where patrons boogied with wireless headphones. Nobody realized the city still enforces a Prohibition-era public dancing license. Code enforcers shut the party mid-moonwalk, proving you can violate noise ordinances even when the room is literally silent. 48. While touring New Mexico's ancient petroglyphs, a tourist traced patterns on her iPad for digital art. A gust toppled the stylus, etching a fresh line into sandstone older than Rome. Rangers labeled it defacement of archaeological resources, a felony that carries heftier time than most graffiti tags. Talk about an accidental collab across millennia. 49. After a deer collided with their pickup in rural Arkansas, a family tossed the carcass into the truck bed for impromptu venison steaks. State law requires a salvage tag within 24 hours. When they Instagrammed the grill session, wildlife officers tracked the post faster than you can say roadkill barbecue. 50. Two Michigan engineers built a soda can rocket in a cornfield to test a new nozzle. They'd filed no NOTAM with the FAA, and the homemade missile climbed into controlled airspace. Moments later, a low-flying crop duster radioed in a UFO. The find grounded their aerospace dreams harder than gravity ever could. 51. A Louisiana chef overnighted a pot of jambalaya to his college buddy in Oregon, packing it with frozen bottles. USDA regs deem any interstate meat shipment commercial, requiring inspection stamps. The package arrived smelling like swamp stew, and the chef received a letter reminding him that shipping gumbo equals running a mail-order meat plant. 52. Camping in Colorado, a newbie outdoorsman gathered dead aspen branches for a cozy fire. National forest rules prohibit removing any wood, dead or alive, without a permit. Rangers cited him while he roasted marshmallows, proving Mother Nature rents her kindling by the paperwork. 53. A Florida teen caught an invasive iguana and sold it to a local pet store for pocket money. State wildlife law demands a transport permit even for pest species. The lizard escaped quarantine, the shop got fined, and the kid learned entrepreneurship 101. Always read the reptile clause. 54. A diligent Vermont librarian digitized century-old postcards and uploaded them to the town's website. Unbeknownst to her, the images were still under state archive copyright. A stern cease and desist arrived, threatening litigation over scanned pictures of 1912 maple syrup ads. Public domain? More like public defender. 55. Fed up with cars ignoring a crosswalk, an Oregon activist painted the stripes rainbow at 3 a.m. Community loved it. Department of Transportation not so much. Altering traffic control devices is a Class C misdemeanor. His civic pride was bright, but the ensuing fine? Brighter. 56. A Texas dad's elaborate treehouse featured a zip line that sailed kids past the fence and 4 inches into a utility easement. County inspectors declared the structure an encroaching improvement, same category as illegal billboard. One misplaced 2x4 cost him more than the whole Home Depot haul. 57. An Alaska photographer launched a drone to capture aerial shots of salmon-chasing grizzlies. National park rules forbid any aircraft disturbing wildlife. The buzzing quadcopter scattered bears like furry bowling pins, and rangers confiscated the memory card. No footage, just a citation big enough to finance a helicopter charter. 58. During rush hour, a New Yorker heroically held a subway door so his late friend could board. MTA rules classify obstructing doors as interfering with train operation, a misdemeanor. The entire car groaned as police escorted the door holder off, proving that courtesy sometimes rides the express line to central booking. 59. A Hawaii vacationer pocketed a shiny black lava rock as a keepsake. Removing geological material from a state park violates both cultural heritage and conservation laws. Legend says Pele curses anyone who takes her stones. The $1,000 fine felt like the goddess's down payment. 60. Pulling a prank, a Pennsylvania college kid ordered 100 pepperoni pizzas delivered to a professor's house, cash on arrival. State code treats large fraudulent food orders as theft of services. The pies went cold on the porch while campus police served a hot lesson in criminal mischief. Vegas, eat that heart out. 61. A Massachusetts dad grabbed a cheap green laser pointer to keep his bored kids and equally bored cat occupied while waiting in the school car line. One playful zap escaped through the sunroof and bounced off the evening haze, right into the windshield of a state police helicopter easing toward Logan. Federal Aviation Code treats that stray beam like a weaponized spotlight, so the next light he saw was a patrol cruiser's blue and reds, not his cat's glowing eyes. 62. Down in Bayou Country, a Louisiana swamp tour skipper jazzed up the ride by broadcasting recorded alligator bellows through a Bluetooth speaker. Tourists loved the reptile remix. Wildlife officers did not. Using electronic calls to lure protected species carries the same penalty as spotlight hunting. So the captain discovered that in Cajun country, even a Spotify playlist can bite back harder than the gators. 63. A New Hampshire couple decided their gender reveal moment needed mountain drama, so they fired a handheld rescue flare atop Mount Monadnock at sunset. The pink smoke looked spectacular and identical to a distress signal. Search and rescue teams scrambled helicopters, hikers panicked, and the parents-to-be racked up a bill big enough to fund the baby's first year of diapers and college fund starter in one fiery puff. 64. San Francisco tourists crowded a historic cable car when an influencer launched a spontaneous public pillow fight for her TikTok followers, showering feathers down Lombard Street. Operators slammed the brakes. Commuters missed meetings. City code labeled the stunt obstructing a common carrier. She went viral, all right. Straight onto a citation carrying a fine fluffier than the pillows. 65. An enterprising Ohio baker sprinkled powdered sugar across a downtown sidewalk to film a whimsical holiday commercial, turning gray concrete into a sparkling snow set. Pedestrians promptly skated like penguins, and one lawsuit-ready slip later, police cited her for creating a roadway hazard. She learned that in Columbus, sugarcoating the truth is safer than sugarcoating the pavement. 66. Deep in Wyoming's Wind River Range, a climber launched a drone to capture heroic summit selfies. He forgot designated wilderness areas ban all mechanized flight. Yes, even toy quadcopters. Rangers confiscated the buzzing paparazzo, and the climber paid a penalty large enough to hire an actual helicopter, pilot included, for next year's ego trip. 67. A Chicago apartment dweller installed a smart doorbell camera pointing down the hallway for package safety. Building code classifies unapproved hallway surveillance as a privacy violation, equating his Ring device to a mini CIA operation. Management removed the gadget and billed him for unauthorized electronic monitoring, proving Big Brother can be a guy in sweatpants 4B. 68. In rural Nebraska, a teenage tech tinkerer boosted neighborhood Wi-Fi with a homemade repeater cobbled from soup cans. The MacGyver marvel worked too well. It bled into the sheriff's radio frequency, jamming dispatch during a tractor fire. The FCC swooped in, and the kid discovered that crossing the airwaves can cost more than unlimited data for life. 69. A Florida retiree thought feeding lettuce to gentle manatees from his dock was pure Sunshine State wholesomeness. Marine biologists call it unnatural habituation, and state law bans it outright. Wildlife officers hid in mangroves like veggie police caught him mid-leaf and handed over a ticket leafier than the romaine he'd planned for tomorrow's salad. 70. One Texas mom packed her 7th grader a homemade kombucha in a mason jar, proud of her probiotic parenting. School security flagged the fizzy brew as fermented beverage, which under district policy equals alcohol. The jar spent the day in evidence, the kids spent an hour in the principal's office, and mom earned a disciplinary write-up that read like a bootlegger rap sheet. 71. Fed up with close calls, an Oregon cyclist painted his own white stripe along a busy street to create a people's bike lane. Commuters applauded. The Department of Transportation didn't. Altering traffic control devices is a misdemeanor, so the DIY urban planner swapped his paint roller for a court summons, and the city repainted the lane back to car territory within hours. 72. During Minnesota's annual Crayfest, an angler decided beer-baited traps would give the mudbugs a last party. He poured a 6-pack into the creek, only to learn state law forbids using alcoholic liquids as bait. Conservation officers cited him for aquatic intoxication, a charge that sounds like the crawfish were the ones needing a designated driver. 73. A South Dakota farm family stacked hay bales into a gigantic Halloween maze near the interstate, inviting Instagrammers to get lost for free. But any public attraction visible from a federal highway requires signage permits and safety inspections. Doughty officials appeared in reflective vests, turning the maze dream into a bureaucratic hayride no one wanted. 74. Racing to catch a departing train, a New Jersey commuter slipped through a clearly marked emergency exit gate to avoid the sardine-packed turnstiles. Transit cops nabbed him before he reached the platform, citing unauthorized passage through emergency egress. He missed the train, paid a fine, and learned that in Jersey shortcuts can be pricier than monthly passes. 75. A Colorado Airbnb host left complimentary bottles of vintage craft beer in the fridge with handwritten cheers notes. State liquor law deems any alcohol provided in exchange for lodging an unlicensed sale. Inspectors fined her per bottle, enough to drain the profit from a month's bookings and leave her future guests clinking cans of sparkling water instead. 76. In Washington's Yakima Valley, an orchardist fired propane cannons every dawn to scare starlings off his cherries. Neighbors called 911, convinced artillery had arrived. County noise ordinances cap blasts at 4 per hour. He averaged 40. Deputies cited him under the same section used for late-night rave base. The cherries survived, his social life did not. 77. Tourists on Rhode Island's Misquamicut Beach sculpted a sandcastle complex complete with moat, drawbridge, and 3-foot walls. Lifeguards loved the artistry until a jogger face-planted into the ramparts. Blocking the public right-of-way with temporary structures is illegal, so the castle fell by shovel order, and the builders faced a penalty taller than their turrets. 78. A Kentucky bourbon fanatic mailed a prized small-batch bottle to a buddy in Utah, disguising it as maple syrup glass fragile. Postal inspectors shook the box, heard that familiar slosh, and invoked the federal alcohol shipping ban. The bottle was seized, and the sender got a letter informing him he'd just smuggled contraband in the same class as Cuban cigars. 79. At a Nevada desert art festival, one free-spirited camper launched biodegradable sky lanterns to send wishes to the universe. The flaming orbs drifted over federal land during peak wildfire season. BLM rangers slapped him with a fine large enough to buy an actual rocket launch. Proof the universe sometimes answers wishes with an invoice. 80. A Maryland dog groomer dyed a poodle rainbow for the local pride parade, complete with glitter topcoat. State Animal Welfare Code prohibits unnatural coloring of mammals for entertainment. The groomer defended artistic expression. The inspector compared it to spray painting a squirrel. The poodle wagged happily while paperwork flew, tail clearly unaware of its legal controversy. 81. An Arizona backyard astronomer hosted a star party using a high-powered green laser to point constellations. One swipe clipped a descending medevac helicopter. The FAA treats that as lacing an aircraft, a federal felony. Instead of exploring the cosmos, the stargazer explored interrogation rooms lit by decidedly unstellar fluorescence. 82. University of Wisconsin football fans celebrated a home win by torching an old couch in the student housing alley. Classic Midwest revelry. Madison's open burn ordinance bans any fire capable of consuming furniture. Firefighters arrived with hoses and citations, and the impromptu bonfire turned into the most expensive tailgate in Big Ten history. 83. A tidy Michigan homeowner swapped the city-issued gray garbage bin for a stylish pastel pink can that matched her tulips. Municipal code mandates uniform container colors for automated trucks. Sanitation workers skipped her house for 2 weeks, then fined her for non-compliant refuse receptacle. Her curb looked fabulous. Her garage smelled otherwise. 84. An Idaho potato farmer arranged towering spud sculptures spelling Tater Time beside Highway 20 to attract agri-tourists. State sign regulations limit advertising within 60 feet of federal roads. The DOT ordered the 15-foot russet letters dismantled, effectively mashing his marketing dreams before they were fully baked. 85. A small-town Oklahoma high school band practiced its halftime show on the field after 10 p.m., blasting trumpets toward quiet neighborhoods. The town's noise ordinance kicks in at 9. Police measured 92 decibels, same as a chainsaw. The drum major traded her baton for a citation. Learning fortissimo can be felentissimo after bedtime. 86. In Salt Lake City, a home baker sold sourdough loaves via Instagram drops. Utah's cottage food law requires kitchen inspections and labels. She had neither. Health officials slid into her DMs with a cease and desist, proving that sometimes the real rise happens in legal dough, not yeast. 87. An Atlanta homeowner trimmed branches of a massive city-owned oak hanging over his driveway, worried about storm damage. Urban forest rules forbid pruning heritage trees without an arborist permit. He was billed for unauthorized alteration of municipal canopy, a phrase that sounds like he vandalized the skyline itself. 88. A Vermont ski resort guest ignored closed signs and sledded down a freshly groomed Black Diamond Run on a cafeteria tray. Ski patrol intercepted halfway, citing him for trespass and reckless sliding. The tray was confiscated as evidence, and he discovered cafeteria gear isn't always to go. 89. On a Mississippi River boat tour, a superstitious tourist tossed quarters overboard for good luck. Federal anti-litter laws classify coin throwing as dumping solid waste into navigable waters. Coast Guard issued a ticket, and the gambler learned the house edge extends even to the mighty river. 90. A California surfer discovered a weathered whale vertebra on a remote beach and proudly brought it home as a quirky coffee table piece. Possessing marine mammal parts without a permit violates the Marine Mammal Protection Act, leading agents to confiscate the relic and leave him with a decor dilemma. 91. A Wyoming retiree crafted a whimsical gnome village along a popular hiking trail by gluing tiny clay cottages to ponderosa pine roots and adding a miniature post office. Though it charmed social media, Forest Service officers cited him for placing foreign objects on federal land, dismantling his ceramic community and his dreams of fairy tale real estate. 92. Milwaukee commuters got an unexpected soundtrack when a jazz saxophonist paddled a kayak down the Riverwalk, looping smooth riffs through a battery speaker. City code, however, says amplified sound turns any vessel into a floating performance venue that needs a pricey special event permit. Harbor Patrol towed him mid-solo, leaving startled ducks to finish the riff. Turns out even mellow sax can run aground on red tape. 93. A Georgia mom projected The Lion King onto her garage door for a neighborhood movie night, streaming straight from Disney+. Under state law, any outdoor showing beyond the immediate household counts as a commercial exhibition, even if no money changes hands. A copyright enforcement firm mailed her an invoice bigger than her annual snack budget. Hakuna Matata? Not when Section 110 is lurking in the bushes. 94. Desperate for traction. During Montana's black ice season, a ranch hand kept studded tire chains on his pickup past the March 31 legal deadline. On April 1st, a trooper clocked the clanking metal and issued a citation written for street racing spikes. Irony stings. The very chains that kept him on the road drove his checking account into a ditch. 95. An Ohio craft beer fanatic printed QR codes on cardboard coasters linking to his hop-heavy Untapped reviews and scattered them in bars for fellow enthusiasts. State alcohol rules classify unapproved promotional material as an illicit inducement. Investigators treated his pixel art like underground liquor coupons, proving a humble coaster can ferment more trouble than a forgotten homebrew. 96. A California surfer strapped a GoPro to a pelican-shaped drone, chasing epic barrel shots. Mid-swoop, the decoy buzzed a protected sea lion rookery. No AA agents slapped him with a marine mammal harassment fine normally reserved for helicopters. He wanted wave footage. Instead, he bought a citation hefty enough to finance a week of private surf lessons. No drones allowed. 97. In Nebraska, a book club host sweetened voting on the next novel by raffling homemade pies to attendees. The State Gaming Commission gatecrashed with clipboards because any drawing involving consideration, attendance counts, constitutes an unlicensed lottery. 1 minute you're debating Tolstoy, the next you're explaining pastry-based gambling to men in blazers. 98. A Massachusetts marathoner used a GPS tracking app to draw giant digital artwork on city streets, spelling love across Boston. While tracing the final E, he unknowingly jogged into a restricted National Guard facility. Military police intercepted the sweaty artist, and trespass charges proved that romantic gestures can still trip perimeter alarms. 99. For St. Patrick's Day, a Kansas City baker dumped eco-friendly green dye into a creek behind his shop, dreaming of a miniature Chicago-style river spectacle. Environmental regulators arrived faster than the leprechauns because any discharge, harmless dye included, requires a state water quality permit. The creek ran festive for hours. His bank account turned shamrock green with fines. 100. Missing her Florida grandkids, a South Dakota grandmother packed a baseball-sized snowball in dry ice and mailed it so they could see real winter. Postal regulations ban shipping non-mailable water in any form that can melt and leak. The box dripped in a sorting center, triggering a hazmat response normally reserved for mystery chemicals. Grandma's surprise? Returned as slush with a citation. 101. A Brooklyn rooftop gardener installed 2 beehives to boost his heirloom tomatoes, bragging about urban pollination on TikTok. When a swarm migrated onto a neighbor's balcony, city inspectors discovered the hives lacked the mandatory 3-foot setback and screening barriers. Violations piled up under the same health code that governs restaurant vermin, and the would-be apiarist learned that in New York, even bees need real estate lawyers. Stumbled into your own accidental brush with the law? Drop it in the comments, cap it with snowmail, and prove you made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe before some forgotten statute outlaws curiosity itself. Stay sharp, stay semi-legal, and catch you next time.